This is not your typical YouTube 10-minute sprint. I'm actually kicking off a 3-part series on Psvane's 300B Summit tubes. And I'm going to do it slow, deliberate, and unapologetically indulgent. If you're here expecting to just know what's the best, get the fuck out.
This is for tube lovers, music lovers. I'm going to go slow with this series. It is not going to be full of flashy editing. It's not going to be scripted, as you could probably already tell by the way I'm talking. Grab yourself a drink, because that's what I'm doing. I am going to be grabbing myself a champagne with a large Bordeaux glass, because that's how I like to enjoy my champagne. Why champagne? Am I celebrating anything? Absolutely not. I am having champagne because I like champagne. This glass is gigantic. Cheers.
Tonight's listening session is brought to you by my homemade DIY speakers. They are an open-baffle using a full-range driver from Lii-Song. It is the Silver 10. And for the bass, also an open-baffle configuration behind in their own baffle are the W15s from Lii-Song, and they right now are configured to play around 118 hertz and lower, and everything above that is the Silver 10. So the Silver 10s are driven by this lovely DIY 300B single-ended amplifier. And I'm going backwards. Then I have my Melody preamplifier, which is rectified by the Space Tech Labs Super STR 1001 MK2 with a 211 cryotone tube in there. The tube here, the 211, is not rectifying the current. There is a solid state rectifier in this thing, but the current that is outflowing out of there is being pumped by a tube, if I understand the design properly. In my Melody amplifier, I have the two 101D stock tubes from Melody, and I have 4 cryotone 6S and 7s. In between that preamp and the 300B amplifier is the cryotone tube conditioner that you see over in the corner. Amplifying the W15s is this cheap, very inexpensive Crown amplifier. It's an XLS 1002. Since my preamp has it's triple output, triple analog output. It has one XLR, which I'm not using right now, one high gain single-ended and one low gain single-ended, and I believe there is a difference of 3 decibels between each, or 6. Could be wrong, doesn't matter. Then, as a DAC, I am using a DIY DAC, which I just acquired. It is fantastic, this DAC, let me tell you. So just a quick summary. The DAC has separated power supply, which is using super linear, ultra quiet power supplies, really expensive stuff in the lower chassis. In that chassis as well is also super quiet, low noise power supplies that are actually charging sets of super expensive lithium batteries that are powering the clocks and the clock board. Both clocks being used in here are external clocks as well, so they're not in either of these chassis. It is an R2R ladder DAC full of exotic parts. It is amazing. My friend Dom built it. And this is when I brought it in here into this room when I was trying the Pink Fawn. I simply fell in love and I asked him to make me a price and I bought it. And I'm still lucky, after crying of losing the Pink Fawn, I still have the Pink Fawn streamer, the Pink Fawn Scion in the system for a very little while longer. So I am going to enjoy the crap out of that. And if the Pink Fawn leaves my system in the next few weeks before I finish this video series, then I will include my impressions of what the differences were with the 300B Summit tubes when I went back to my Space Tech streamer. And who knows, maybe I'll find another streamer. It's all good. All right, so before I put the Summits in, I'm going to lower the bias so that when I put the new tubes in, I'm going to let them warm up gently at 60, and then I'm going to adjust them to 65 or 70. See how I feel like. And I might play around with that. But first I'm going to keep them at one bias for the duration of their break-in period. And maybe I'll experiment between 65 and 70 and see how that affects the sound somewhere down the series. Do not bias your tubes. Go to a professional. Don't be like me. I'm an idiot. All right, so before I shut this down and let it cool a little bit before I put the Psvanes in there, I am going to lower the bias like I mentioned before. Just want them to cool down a bit. Oh, yeah. Good contact. Those are some tight connectors. Hopefully it doesn't go boom. It didn't go boom. You did good with the amp. It's a very slow start. See, there's still no current going to the tubes yet. It's a very, very slow start. Here we go. Very slow. I'm gonna let them warm up for a few minutes. Okay, both are pretty stable, so let's bring them to 65. All right, that's good. It's holding steady. Let's move over to the right channel. I'm never in a rush when I do this. Super slow. Because it's very, very small increments, and then you gotta pause between increments. Think I got it pretty close for the left and the right. Let's double check. That'll do.
Okay, first impressions without playing any music. They're pretty quiet. Yeah, very close to the cryotones. So, first impression, I don't know, 4 or 5 songs that I know very well. The details are a bit annoying. It's not that the treble is cranked. It's not that it's bright. It's not bright at all. Total balance seems good. But the level of detail is too much for me. It's distracting even. I'm just saying what I'm hearing. Maybe this has something to do with it, but I doubt it. A glass in. Yeah, it's really detailed. Whenever there's jazz brushes, it's a little too much. I find you hear the jazz brushes too much. I'm okay knowing that they're there. I don't want them to become part of the music on the same level as the front instruments. I don't want that. So, yeah, interesting.
Okay, so I'm at 10 hours so far on these tubes. I did 2 listening sessions as a first impression because I think it's important to do 2 sessions at completely different times of the day, because my session last night was at the end of my work week, late in the evening. I was naturally tired. Also, I was having a glass of champagne, aka a bottle. So that's going to have an impact as well on my perception of what I'm hearing. Whereas this morning session, I'm rested and I'm drinking a coffee, not alcohol. So here are the 2 differences between each session. Last night's session felt overly detailed to me. There was way too many detail. It just felt like an overload of information. Now, not bright, not harsh, just detailed. Really detailed. Too much. But too much. I'm still able to listen for 5 hours, so it wasn't aggressive. It didn't fatigue me, but I felt that it was a little bit distracting at times. So what ends up happening is I just let my mind wander yesterday. I listened to my test track at first, so a bunch of test tracks for, I don't know, maybe about 45 minutes or so. During the test track part, that's where my mind is more analytical because I listen to these tracks way too much. And they're not even songs that I sit down to enjoy anymore. They're songs that I like consider work almost. Anyways, they serve as tools now. Once that was done, then I just jumped into whole albums. I listened to a bunch of albums and I would listen to them full. That's how I get through these long sessions. I don't sit there and pick a song at random every single time. No. And while I'm listening, I let my mind do what it wants to do. If my audiophile side gets triggered by something that's going on in terms of sound staging, in terms of tonal balance, in terms of detail, air, blah blah, all that BS, then that's what happens. And I analyze, and I take a few notes if that happens. Or if my feet starts tapping and I just get into the music, and then I listen to the music, and I'm just focused on enjoying the music that's playing. I don't care about what it's doing. I just get immersed. So I have to say that there was yesterday there was a balance of both. After the test tracks, of course, I got to really enjoy the music, although even though the details were cranked, but because the details were cranked, at times it pulled me into audiophile mode where I was just paying attention to details and little subtleties and nuances that I would pick up in the air and in the soundstage. Okay, whatever. What I find interesting, however, is fast forward to this morning session with coffee in hand, same routine, start with my test tracks, move on to some albums. It didn't sound hyper detailed this morning. Was it that the tubes after a simple 5 hours of play last night sounded different this morning? Maybe. Or was it that I'm not tired this morning and my sensitivity to the details was different? Maybe. Maybe both. I don't know. I'm just sharing my experience. So this morning, it was far more enjoyable to just go through albums. I have to say that the ratio of my mind going to analytical versus just immersed in enjoying the music was probably 75% music this morning and maybe 25% analytical. And I'm not counting the test tracks. The test tracks is just to get my bearings. Whereas last night, I'd say it was 50-50. Details were really pumping me out of pulling me out of the music immersion mode. So, that being said, tubes are good so far. I can't say that I can't find anything drastically wrong. If they still sounded hyper detailed this morning, I would say right now that that's an issue that I'm going to be looking out for over the next few days as I keep listening to these. So today's video this is all this is. This is the first part, first impression of the first 10 hours of listening to these 300B tubes by Psvane. The next video is going to be after I've reached the 50-hour mark. So for the next 40 hours, I do a similar process that I did this time. It'll be over many different sessions, but the sessions are not always going to be done at the same periods of time. They're not always going to be done in the evenings. They're not always going to be done at night. There's going to be a mix. Some sessions are going to be in the evenings, in the afternoon, in the mornings, and I try to pair 2 sessions at a time. So that I can contrast. If I do a session late in the evenings, I make sure to do a session the next morning when I'm rested. Or if I do a session in the morning, then I try another session at the end of the day, just to have opposites, right? I want to test the extremes. I don't know if you guys seen my ping pong video. For me, I like to know where the extremes are. So even for myself, I listen when I'm tired, listen when I'm awake and full of energy. And I vary up my consumption, what I consume as well while I'm listening. So last night was champagne, this morning was coffee. I'll be doing the same thing over the next few sessions. So I'll be back in a few days with part 2 once the tubes reach 50 hours of listening, and I will share each of my experiences through these sessions and catalog what I perceived as changes, if any. I might even try a different bias. Psvane said 65-70. That's what they recommend. I could maybe test them at 75. The thing is, you know what? I might. Anyways, I'm going to test different biases as well, but I don't want to do that too soon because it'll skew my perception, right? So maybe I'll keep that for part 3. We'll see. If you have any ideas of things that you think I could do or things you want to see, put them down in the comments. And if I like your idea, or if I can do your idea, hey, I might include it in one of the videos. Thanks for sticking around. See you guys in part 2.